Welcome to the Daughter Arise channel. My name is Yvonne and this channel is all about bringing you content about childhood sexual abuse. On this channel I share things to do with my experiences. I also share on this channel news stories and add my thoughts and commentary to them. And also from time to time I interview other survivors and their supporters in hopes of educating and raising awareness about childhood sexual abuse. So if this is the type of content that you're looking for, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can be notified of any new uploads. And if you like the content, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. So in today's video, I want to talk to you about how sexual abuse by my father damaged my life. Now, I have talked about in other videos, there's kind of specifics of how it impacted my life in terms of my behaviour, the things that I indulged in to deal with, the aftermath of being sexually abused by my father. And, being sexually abused by anybody in your life as a child is extremely damaging. I've done interviews on this channel with other survivors who have shared their experiences of being sexually abused by various different people, whether that is relatives or family friends or step-parents or different people, how that impacted their life. So I'm not even taking away from the fact that any type of abuse by somebody when you're a child is extremely damaging. But lately I've been thinking about my birth father. I don't know why. It's happened over the last few months, on and off. Not regularly, but from time to time. And I was just thinking about, on reflection, how far I've come since, being abused by him. I have forgiven my dad for what he's done to me. I forgave him and my mum and my gran many years ago. That was a key part of my healing, to be able to forgive them. And I don't wish them harm. I don't wish any kind of bad feeling or ill will on them or anything like that. I talk about my experiences solely now, whether that is on video or when I do workshops or talks or wherever it is. I solely talk about my experiences to educate people, to raise awareness of how child sexual abuse, childhood trauma affects lives. I don't talk about this, to keep bringing things up, but I believe from my experiences that good things can come from those bad experiences, whether that is to raise awareness, whether that is to educate, whether that is to empower. So this is the reason why. But as I was saying, I was thinking about him over the last few months on and off and reflecting on how far I've come. And I was thinking about how his direct abuse of me impacted different areas of my life and how it was extremely damaging what he did to me. Now, I didn't realise how damaging his abuse of me was until, further on in my life. I didn't recognise it in the early stages of going through early relationships. As time has gone on, as I was able to work through different issues to do with my sexual abuse, I started to see where certain roots of thinking, certain roots of behaviour, certain kind of mindsets, came from, and that was directly rooted from my abuse. To have that deeper level of seeing how it could still impact my life many years later, was a real revelation. So I want to share with you why I believe the abuse by my father was damaging to me and how it impacted my life many years later. So the first thing I have on my list is the way that I thought about myself. I had low self-esteem and low confidence for many years, and it affected my life in so many different ways. And when I was able to start to work through some of the issues that was left behind from my abuse, I realised that I didn't really have a high opinion of myself. As a matter of fact, I didn't view myself as anything at all. One of the negative thoughts that always used to come back to me a lot was that I always thought that I was trash. I always thought that I was rubbish. I always thought that I was no good, that I'd never amount to anything. And as you can hear from the things that I'm sharing with you, these are really negative things to say to yourself. And those negative things that I said to myself then would result in behaviour that kind of affirmed those things that I said about myself. When I had time to kind of really sit back and reflect on it after coming through, several bouts of going through different therapy and stuff, and realising actually that I still had this very low view of myself. And I must say, in the last probably 5 to 10 years, my view about myself has changed. But, up until the age of 35, I think I still had this negative mindset towards myself when I sat down and really reflected on it, I realised it stemmed from the abuse of my childhood. The effect of being abused by my father, somebody who as a daughter should have cherished me, should have loved me and protected me, it really had a bad effect on me. His abuse of me, I remember at the time thinking to myself, I really was not worth anything. I thought I was a bad girl. I thought I was a bad person. And as a young child, when you don't have that education or awareness or even knowledge about what sexual abuse is or the things that are happening to you, it leaves you to build up a perception about why abuse is happening to you. It leaves you to build up this kind of view of yourself based upon no information, based upon lies. And I carried that view of myself that I was trash and that I was worth nothing, through many years of my adult life. One of the kind of pictures I always had of myself is that I was just like a rag doll that was just thrown away. I really didn't see myself as anything at all. One of the main reasons why my view of myself has really changed really is because of my relationship with Jesus Christ. As a Christian, knowing God for myself, has really altered the way that I see myself. I see myself as somebody who now is fearfully and wonderfully made. That's from Psalm 139:14. Having these kind of promises about what God says about me has helped me to transform my thinking. Also alongside being able to work through and correct that thinking about myself through things like CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, correcting those kind of thoughts about myself and understanding where they come from. So that is, something that really did affect me and impacted me. It left an imprint on me for a very long time. And it was hard to get through, but I managed to get through it. So another area where I realised that sexual abuse caused a lot of damage was in the area of relationships. My first relationship right out the jump was an abusive relationship. And I thought it was normal. I thought it was normal to be emotionally abused. I thought it was normal, to be in dysfunction all the time. It took, 8-9 years to break that cycle of dysfunction in that relationship. I realised that, I deserved better. But knowing that I deserved better and then, having behaviour and actions that kind of back that up was two different things. Even though that was the main abusive relationship, that first relationship, my other relationships really didn't affirm a good value of myself. So as I've mentioned in other videos, I had a few casual relationships, as a matter of fact. I wasn't highly promiscuous, but in the context of, just having a solid relationship between a man and a woman and being in that relationship for a very long time, because I wasn't in that type of relationship, I would consider myself in those terms to be promiscuous. The high bar that I should have had with relationships, because of that impact that my dad had on me with his treatment of me, my bar was very, very low. It took a lot of work to get through that, to understand my value, to understand that I deserved more than that. And it was just a journey of learning and understanding my value, and that came through, I think a lot of influence came through understanding how God saw me and how relationships were supposed to be in terms of, being exclusive, having somebody that loves you and cherishes you and different things like that. But even though many years after that, being able to come through the other side of those dysfunction caused by my dad, I realised that even my view in marriage, in my relationship with my husband, was still a little bit, not right. And maybe for the first 8 years of our marriage, I struggled with believing that I was loved, that I was valuable. I still kind of had those kind of mindsets, even though I did a lot of work to get to that point of even being married. And I've been married now for 17 years. But just having that view of myself that, I was worthy to be loved and cherished and everything, was a real battle. How I managed to get through that, as I said, my relationship with God helped me a lot, just reading his word, praying and asking him to heal me in those areas of brokenness, and even after that, still having to then continue to do the work to change my mindset. Because that's one thing I always say, when I came into a relationship with Jesus Christ through God, and believed that he's the Son of God, and invited him into my heart and life, I still had to do the work of changing certain things. But I had the help of God to do that. It's not like a magic pill. I'm not kind of saying it's a magic pill. But basically, God through his Holy Spirit helped me to change a lot of different things. But now I have a different view of myself in a relationship. But the inner work that I had to do, I couldn't do whilst I was in a relationship. I had to do it separately from that, because that was another thing as well. I just kind of was always looking to, in a sense, be affirmed through relationships, being validated by somebody. And this is, going back, many years ago now. But I had to, at one point, when I was in psychotherapy, after having my first breakdown at 22, make an agreement with the psychotherapist not to get myself involved in casual relationships, not to get myself involved in any type of relationships at all, but just to take that time out to do the work. And that really, really helped me. And one of the other areas that I realised that the damage and impact of sexual abuse of my father was a real problem was in my relationship with the living God. As I mentioned, I'm a woman of faith. I am a Christian. If it wasn't for Jesus, I wouldn't even be here today. That is my testimony. That's what I always share. It's something I share in my book. Besides my experiences of going through the aftermath of childhood sexual abuse, I'm very open and transparent to say that if it wasn't for Jesus Christ, I wouldn't be here today. Having that faith in God has healed me, has helped me so, so much. But I did realise that how I viewed God was tainted because of my experiences with my father. Obviously, God is my father, but he would never abuse me. He would never hurt me. As a matter of fact, his ways are not man's ways. He is not like man. But learning that and understanding that took a lot of years, because obviously my father is a man. My father did sexually abused me and harmed me. For a lot of years I didn't trust men. I didn't trust fathers. I didn't trust anybody in any kind of positions that was of so-called authority. But the way that God is with me, loving, kind, compassionate, the fact that I'm able to go to him with my inner secrets, something that I struggled to do with for many years because I felt that God would reject me, is really empowering and freeing to me. With my father, once he abused me, I could never trust him again. It really impacted the way that I, saw relationships, and that, fathers are not people that could be trusted. So I really saw the damage in how it affected my relationship with God. It took me a lot of years to open up to God, just talking to him. And what's so crazy is that God knows the beginning from the end and the end from the beginning. So me hiding things from him didn't make no sense because he already knew. But I thought, because of the secretive nature of sexual abuse by my father, I didn't feel that I could come and be open with God. And it's taken a long time. I've been a born again Christian now for 22, 23 years. And it's taken a long time to get to that point where I've been able to kind of know the difference between my Heavenly Father and my birth father, and know that they're two completely different things. And just being able to be free to just open up to God and just come and talk to him like I'm talking to you on camera, and telling him my innermost thoughts, my secrets, my struggles, my sins, and everything, and know that through Christ I'm forgiven, and that I'm washed clean by his blood, and that how I am a new creation in him has really helped me a lot. So there has been a lot of damage that was done by the sexual abuse at the hands of my father, but through reflecting and learning different things about childhood sexual abuse, from healing from different things, I've been able to spot and pick these things up. And I just feel really fortunate that I've been able to have that knowledge and insight to understand how that damage has influenced and affected me in many different areas, and been really blessed and fortunate to be able to do things to help to kind of heal from that damage. Obviously I wish it's something I never had to go through, but I did go through it, and I'm fortunate to just be able to move past it and live the life that I have today. If you have realised from your own experiences that childhood trauma, childhood sexual abuse has influenced or impacted other areas of your life, and you would like help to be able to, you know, process that, I would recommend that you get support from somebody, whether that's a therapist, maybe sitting down and talking with somebody who you trust, who has an understanding of how this can impact you. You know, it's really going to be really helpful to you. I found in just speaking about it, talking out loud about it, was really empowering for me, because obviously living with childhood sexual abuse for a long time, you always think that, you know, your voice doesn't matter. So for me, it was really, really empowering to do that. So that is it for this video. I will leave links to my book, Daughter Arise, which is my autobiography, my story of coming through the aftermath of abuse, and also as well Choose Life, which is a practical empowerment workbook for survivors of childhood sexual abuse. Maybe you're not ready to talk to anybody about your experiences. Maybe, you know, you're not ready to share with anybody how it's impacted your life. My book, Choose Life, is a book where you can work in the privacy of your own home to gather your thoughts, to take part in exercises. I also share specific part of my journey, diary entries, to show you where I am today is not where I started from. It has been a journey. But I will leave links to those books in the description box below, and links to my organisation, Daughter Arise, which is a peer empowerment organisation. So that is it for this video. Until the next one, take care.